I want to talk about how you deal with loss. So I know you started your first fight. You went up to 170, fight at 155, 4 or 5 days notice. Didn't go your way. The second fight, very close fight, arguably winning that. You got cut. You're 0-2, and that can't be easy, right? But of course you bounce back. You're 3 in a row. Which, congratulations. But I want to talk about the loss for a second. So how do you deal with that? How do you process that? What goes on?
Man, I smiled so hard when you were talking about this because I have such a vivid memory of getting ready. This is such a good segue off of our last topic of the identity thing, right? And I had this like what felt like an existential crisis of my identity almost being gone. That I had worked my whole life to make it to the UFC, and now I was on a 2-fight losing streak. I was this close to being cut and done with the UFC, and who knows if I would have made it back. And these are all the thoughts that are going through my head going into this third fight. And I was also fighting a guy that was 0-2. We were both 0-2, and we both knew going into the fight, if I lose this fight, I'm going to get cut from the UFC, and it might be the end of my dreams. And man, this is another reason why I love this sport so much, man, is like, that's to me, that's just so raw. That's so raw, that competing for that spot. But anyways, I remember I have this vivid memory of just so much anxiety on my mind of like, and this is as I was a believer, and I think that it's really important for people to know and to understand. This is why I love that T.S. Eliot quote about circling back around to the same truths. I believe in God. I believe in God at this point, and I know I should put my trust and my faith in him, that I shouldn't be worried about the future. I shouldn't be anxious about the things to come, that I should only worry about today because today's troubles are sufficient, and that I shouldn't be worrying about or dwelling in the past or anything like that. But I'm human, and my flesh, I will never escape this meat suit that I'm in as long as I'm here. And I'm standing in the shower listening to a on the Bible app. They have like daily devotionals and stuff like that. And I would listen to one every morning. Whenever I got up, I'd usually listen to it while I'm in the shower, getting ready to go eat and train and stuff like that. And I remember I'm getting ready and I'm like freaking out about this fight that I have in like 6 weeks. I'm like 6 weeks out, and just so much anxiety of just all the what ifs. I felt like the enemy was just constant what ifs. What if I lose? What if I get cut? Literally, I was going all the way to like, well, if I lose this fight, I guess I could, I wonder if I could go back to school and get a degree, or if I could maybe open my own gym. And like, I had this, like, I'm like planning out different routes for my life on what ifs. It's like, I'm still in the UFC. Like, why are you worried about just win this fight? Worry about doing the right thing. And but that's where my mind was going. And 2 Timothy 1:7, for God did not give us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and of sound mind, came on that freaking devotional. And I felt like it changed my life. I'm not even kidding. Like, it gets me almost emotional right now, because I'm like, I remember standing in the shower, and I didn't even know at the time, I didn't know how anxious I was in my mind until it left, until that first hit my mind. And I was like, oh, I'm listening to the wrong voice. God did not give us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and of sound mind. So if I'm hearing things of a different voice, then that's not from him.
Right.
So I was like, oh, I'm just listening to the wrong person. I'm listening to the wrong thing. And of course, that thing's going to tell me the negative, because that's not who's on my side. And man, it just like, I just remember it being so powerful that I literally didn't realize how much I was freaking out about potential loss, not even actual loss. It hasn't happened yet. And man, I just, to this day, that is like, might be my very favorite Bible verse, is that God did not give us a spirit of fear, but a power, love, and of sound mind. And To me, how I say all that because that is I guess that doesn't directly pertain to dealing with loss. That was, I guess, dealing with more anxiety, the fear of loss, but dealing with loss in general, going off of those two losses specifically, but just loss in general. Um, I deal with loss the best that I can, and again, I'm just as human as everybody else. There's a good example, my ankle. I just blew out my ankle before this my last fight I had scheduled, right? And that day I was having a conversation with a great friend of mine, Bryce, about how whether we like it or not, everything is perfect. Even the good, the bad, the ugly, everything in between. We don't have to like it, but if we can believe that somehow this situation, no matter what it is, whether we think it's great, whether we think it's terrible, whether it's somewhere in between, whatever the situation is, what if this is exactly what I need and I just don't even know it? And that is generally where I try to keep my mind when it comes to loss. Um, uh, is what happened that day. Literally that morning, I was having that conversation, and then later that night, I rolled my ankle. I tore the whole thing. It was super swollen. I was in a lot of pain, and I was freaking out for a minute because there was uncertainty of like, am I going to try to push through to this fight and just not train all the way leading up into it and just get on the bike the whole time to lose the weight and um eventually I was sitting in the cold tub soaking my foot that night because of my ankle, and my buddy Bryce was there with me when all that happened. He helped carry me downstairs to get to the ice tub, and I freaking had like I was so mad because I felt like I had all these everything was so planned out. Like this fight was going to be perfect. I was about to be 4-0. I needed the paycheck. I was going to go into the next year on a big win streak, and things were going to start changing. And then just all of a sudden, like all that got ripped out from underneath me. And I remember I was thinking on it and I was so mad because I was also in a lot of pain. That like, dude, one single tear was about to like come from my eye, and my buddy saw it and he goes, "Hey, remember, this is perfect." And I was just like, damn, it is, dude. It's freaking perfect. It is. I don't like it. I don't want it to be this way, but somehow this has to be the best thing for me. And I just try to apply that to every loss that I have, is somehow there is a greater good that's going to come from this. And then if I could just put my faith that this is what I need, that somehow that now this loss is not even the reason I keep saying loss. I keep air quoting your loss because you realized there really is not much loss that happens if something good comes from something that was bad, wasn't really bad. So and that's another impossible paradox, whole other conversation we're gonna have. But that's generally my where I try to keep my mind when I'm able to be strong enough to be in control of my mind. That's where I try to place spotlight my focus is that this is perfect. Somehow this is exactly what I need, and that the world is not conspiring against me, but God is actually giving this for me, to me, for me, because this is what's right.
Right. So if I'm hearing you correctly, it sounds like the first step is just awareness. Oh, this other voice is speaking to me. This is not God because it's fear-based. So being aware of it, and then acceptance is what I'm hearing. Like, okay, I roll my ankle. I can't do anything about that now. Acceptance. And then number 3, it sounds like trusting God. Okay, well, God's got a perfect plan, and it's perfect. May not see it now, but
Yeah, and I really do. I just for conceptual purposes, I think that a great way to look at it is the yin and the yang of just like perfect balance and harmony. Of like the good and the bad that's in the good that's in the bad, and it is perfect. It's perfect. It's perfectly balanced, and that Yeah, it doesn't have to even be, even when I say things are perfect, it doesn't mean that everything's sunshine and rainbows, but it is perfect. Even when it's pouring down rain, the rainbows to come after. Even when it's pouring down rain, that's whenever the crops grow. That's what feeds and waters the crops, you know? And as cliche as it is, is like it's you can't enjoy, you don't know how to enjoy the sunshine without the rain. You don't know how to enjoy the good times without the bad. And yeah, so just as much as we can, we try to avoid catastrophizing the situation in our mind, and you nailed it with what you said with awareness, acceptance, and then trusting God.